games everywhere, around in every facet. Walmart shelves, Target shelves, your grandma's shelves, every shelf has games, it seems like at this point, and it's because of this prolificity that I want to really discuss them. This week, a particular video game was released that I, in particular, have been interested in for quite some time, and that is Borderlands 3. Now, the Borderlands franchise is a franchise that I have played for years, and my brother and I actually grew up playing it all the way back to the original Borderlands, which I played for the very first time at my friend Austin's house, who I will probably have on this podcast at some point. He's a great video game aficionado. In any case, and one of the games they introduced me to was the original Borderlands. I really was confused when I first saw it. It looked kind of weird, not like a regular PlayStation 3 game. The cel shading was off-putting for me at first, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't used to that. And this was back before I was really into games. So I gave it a try. It wasn't exactly my fare. The controls felt a little sluggish, and so I didn't necessarily dive deep into it. But with Borderlands 3 coming back around, I've been able to kind of take a step back and recognize over the years that like I really did have it grow upon me. I played Borderlands 2 like crazy, and Borderlands for the pre-sequel I've never actually played through. I'm trying to get through that right now before I dive into Borderlands 3, because that's how interested I am in the franchise as a whole. Borderlands 3 being released this week really does signify a marker for me, and it makes me look back on my years as a gamer and my introduction into this industry and what that means to me. Borderlands was around that time that I began to really take interest, and that actually ties into a couple things we'll talk about a little bit later. I want to be sure to update you guys on the things that are going on at GamesU and the stuff that we're going to be looking at. But in any case, Borderlands 3 being released this week, it looks like it was pretty well received too, which is awesome. Before it came out, I was really worried that some people might think the formula for Borderlands was a little bit outdated. Let's see what Metacritic says. Metacritic here, as I yank this up for Borderlands 3, is at 85. 85, which of course is pretty good. I mean, it's not an A, but it's a B. And for a game like Borderlands, I'd probably expect that. Now, Borderlands is a first-person shooter. The artistic direction is probably the right word, is cel shaded, which means that everything kind of has like a black streak, kind of looks like it's straight out of a comic book sort of thing. And the game itself features an alien world, alien characters, full of powers. The whole setup is a loot shoot type of gameplay, kind of like, Destiny 2 or a game like that. Those are considered looter shooters. Games where you dive in a multiplayer setting. It's usually first person. You go and you take on missions and things. It's usually against NPCs. Sometimes these games have player versus player where you do engage online with other live players. But that is not Borderlands. Borderlands is not that at all. It is completely co-op. In fact, it is tied to 4 characters specifically, which is a very classic multiplayer couch co-op setup. They've stuck with that. And it's supposed to be considered old, especially with games like Destiny allowing you to connect with more people, and games like Fortnite allowing hundreds of people to connect to a service and involved in the same world and connect and do different things and fight and whatnot. And to put Borderlands in a situation where it is very classic seemed to think it was setting it up for failure, but it seems like it worked out. So you play as one of 4 typically in a squad, and you go through this world. The big draw is, of course, in fact, in this game in particular, it looks like gorgeous, absolute gorgeous graphics. The way that they've really honed in on the particular Borderlands style is impressive. The crazy characters, it's a zany world, to be perfectly honest, which is a lot of gaming worlds, I've begun to realize. A lot of them are kind of zany and goofy and weird, but Borderlands in particular, I think, represents even an older time. I know I've seen a few reviews for it already that point towards it being probably a little bit less PC than people would like in this day and age. So it is a little bit different. Definitely looks gorgeous. It definitely looks like the setup between the characters and the different classes that you can pick, who are all also very interesting and zany, and who all have different abilities that you can build out through trees. A very classic RPG-esque setup that's built into oftentimes into looter shooters. Same thing here. It's very classic, but its charm, Borderlands' charm, its characters are really what bring out the fun, at least for me. And I was able to put hours and hours and hours into it. Oh, and honestly, the loot itself too. They're known, and they've always been known ever since the original Borderlands, for the insane amount of guns, and now it's up to millions and billions. And of course, I don't know what the exact number is, and I don't think anybody knows. Maybe I don't even know if they know, honestly. But they've taken that aspect, which was the same in Borderlands 2. It was a little bit more robust in Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel, but it seems like they've ratcheted it up to 11 in Borderlands 3. It looks like their guns, their loot, just a ton of variety, crazy things that you're seeing. You're seeing guns with feet. You're seeing suitcase bomb gun things, all kinds of stuff going on. And so it just makes for a good time, Borderlands does. And if you can find people who are dedicated to play it with you, oh man, like $60 for a weekend with some friends, diving deep into some crazy action, having a good time. Borderlands 3 released actually today on Friday, and there was a lot of reviews being dropped earlier in this week. Moving on to the next thing for this week. What is Project Resistance? Resistance, of course, referring to not the late